afternoon, everybody. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. I hope everybody is doing well on this Monday, February 26, 2024. And, well, I've got a couple of topics to discuss with you guys. I received an article today. Now, it's a couple of years old. It's from 2022, but you're probably not aware of it. December 15, 2022, by Michael German. We know who he is, right? So anyway, this is from the Brennan Center for Justice. It's an analysis of how government fusion centers violate Americans' rights and how to stop it. Biden administration and Congress must impose oversight and accountability on these state-run centers. Now, we all know how that panned out with the renewal of FISA 702. But it doesn't mean that it hasn't been discussed in the past and how we need to continue to shed the light on what a fusion center is, how it is operating, the inability to obtain information about them, the inability to get a freedom of information request on them, including Infragard, which is the right hand of my favorite Bureau of Investigation. So anyway, before I get into reading the article from December 15, 2022, written by Michael German, or German, I'm not exactly sure of the correct spelling, please hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow. Get the message out there. Please feel free to share if you feel inclined to do so. A federal jury awarded $300,000 this month, remember this is 2022, to a Maine State Police trooper who was demoted after blowing the whistle on privacy violations at the state's Intelligence Fusion Center. The federal government spurred the development of fusion centers after 9/11 as a means for sharing counterterrorism intelligence among state and local governments, as well as select private entities. And I'm just going to add, you know what those select private entities are? You named it. Infragard. Private contractors, private fusion center operatives, maybe your neighbors, Citizen Corps. That's where they share all that information with the select private entities that can't be FOIA requested. The facts reveal that during this trial, added to a mountain of evidence that fusion centers require a greater regulation and oversight. Yeah, we're doing a great job on that, right, guys? So anyway, the trooper alleged that the Maine Intelligence and Analysis Center, one, in a network of 80 fusion centers operating across the country, was illegally collecting and sharing information about Maine residents who weren't suspected of criminal activity. They included gun purchasers, people protesting the construction of new power transmission lines, the employees of a peace-building summer camp for teenagers, and even people who travel to New York City frequently. The whistleblower also claimed that Fusion Center supervisors pressured him to illegally share sensitive FBI information that he had access to, but because of his position on the Joint Terrorism Task Force. As detailed in the Brennan Center report, the whistleblower complaint was far from the first indication that fusion centers pose risks to American civil liberties and privacy rights. Just for the record, it occurs to me that I have read this article before. I think it was more than a year ago. It's probably on my channel somewhere, so I'm just reading it again, just in case you've heard it. Doesn't hurt to repeat it. Civil liberties groups raised concerns as the network was being built without proper regulations or independent oversight. Leaked fusion center reports revealed improper monitoring of the Muslim Americans and protesters from across the political spectrum, even as the centers expanded their missions beyond counterterrorism to, quote unquote, all crimes and all hazards. A 2012 investigation by the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee found that fusion centers, quote, forward intelligence of uneven quality, sometimes shoddy, rarely timely, and sometimes endangering citizens' civil liberties and Privacy Act protections, occasionally taken from already published public resources, and more often than not, unrelated to the T word, unquote. Significantly, the committee found fusion centers had failed to produce actionable counterterrorism intelligence. Well, we know this is a fact. I mean, come on, guys. Look at all those mass shooters. Or what about all the 800,000 children that go missing every year? Now, I'm a little confused. If I'm being surveilled 24/7 in remote rural Kentucky, wherever I go, there's somebody following me, tracking me on my property, how come they can't find all those children? Why not? What about the 33-year-old American who went on vacation overseas that just poof disappeared at age 33? 33 years old, poof, disappeared. Poof. I guess we just don't know. We're not good enough here. These fusion centers, these Infragard people, the private contractors, the FBI, the CIA, they can't find any of these children, but they can track me, a 65-year-old woman in remote rural Kentucky, wherever I walk, wherever I go. What about all those alleged, I'm going to say alleged, mass shooters? Why hasn't any one of them been able to be prevented? I'm just really confused. Maybe it's just because the name fits. It's my favorite Bureau of Instigation. Okay? Instigation is what the provocateurs do. They poke you, prod you, pick, nit, pick, poke, tear, cut, kill, unalive your pets, all in an effort to provoke, instigate, create something that doesn't exist. Oh yeah, it's called counter-terrorism intelligence. And I just want to give a shout out to all those sellout psychiatrists and psychologists out there that are falsely diagnosing, falsely labeling people. Your day is coming. Your day is coming. Because I am looking forward to the next citizen journalist to blow the whistle on your fraudulent tactics, including Medicaid fraud, Medicare fraud, insurance fraud, misdiagnosing people, fraud. Yes, I'm looking forward to it, and somebody's going to be picking that up real soon. But anyway, so today's fusion centers are operating in every state in the union with little oversight and almost no public accountability. Indeed, federal auditors have complained that the way the state governments administer the DHS grant funds, grant the money, follow the money, makes it difficult to determine how much money fusion centers receive and how they use it. That's interesting. Federal auditors. How about the IRS? The IRS should get on their case, right? So shortly after that Maine trooper filed his lawsuit in May 2020, a hack of a fusion center contractor exposed 296 gigabytes of intelligence records from more than 200 law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and the DHS. The records substantiated the troopers' complaints about privacy and civil rights violation at the Maine Fusion Center and showed similar abuse occurring throughout the network, particularly in tracking Black Lives Matter protests. The documents also show that fusion centers had regularly spread misinformation sourced from dubious social media posts, including false reports alleging that anti-fascists were starting wildfires or planning acts of violence. These specious reports distracted law enforcement during public safety emergencies. The leak also revealed the inadequate vetting of the contractors and private sector entities that participate in the fusion centers, including indicating that the network has become more of a security liability than a security solution. The participation of private sector entities in fusion center intelligence activities has also raised concerns that these centers are serving private interests rather than public safety. Yeah, private interests. It's a hate crime. If somebody doesn't like you, they put you on the list and is serving private interests. And hey, maybe those people are paying these people under the table a little bit of money to harass that woman in Kentucky. Or you there in Pennsylvania, or you in Minnesota, or you in West Virginia, or you in California. I mean, the list is endless. It's every state, right? So local advocates from Maine, as well as Massachusetts, Texas, and California, have called for closing fusion centers. State and local representatives have the authority to determine the benefits of maintaining a fusion center and whether it's worth the costs. But the federal government has an obligation to guard against the misuse of resources, systems, and personnel that it provides. And it must ensure that Americans' constitutional rights are not infringed upon by the improper collection, retention, dissemination of personally identifiable information of persons not reasonably suspected of criminal activity. We know how that works in Manalapan, New Jersey. You know the Manalapan. The former chief of police, Michael Fountain, I know I can't help but repeat it. You know, he collected dirt on all of his police officers and carried them around in a folder to use against his police officers if they got out of line. I guarantee he collected dirt on all the single women in the neighborhood, too, because he was a misogynist and he was a woman hater. We also urge Congress to establish a special inspector general to audit the national network of fusion centers to detect waste, fraud, abuse, illegality, and to use these results of this audit to establish a permanent, independent federal oversight body to ensure that future violations are discovered and remedied in a timely manner. Well, guess what, folks? This is 2022. We're in 2024. I don't know about you. I haven't seen a bill cross my desk about shutting down the fusion centers or any kind of oversight. I mean, perhaps there was. Please let me know if there was. If you know of a bill that has been drafted and supported to shut down fusion centers or make them accountable, financially accountable, please leave a comment down below. These reforms are necessary to ensure that fusion centers' capabilities and resources are not abused and that Americans' rights to freedom of speech and association are preserved. Again, this is from Steve Gurman. Michael Gurman, December 15, 2022. Article from the Brennan Center for Justice. Now, it's just a coincidence that I received that article, and then let's see if I can find it now. It was let's see, I think it was in my update here. Oh yes. So a targeted justice in their recent newsletter provided a cease and desist letter to the fusion centers. Organized stalking, these are the criminals behind it. This is dated February 25, 2024. Cease and desist. So, Targeted Justice recommends a cease and desist letter to your local fusion center, Citizen Corps, and Infragard. Let them know that you're aware of their criminal activities. Fusion Center, Citizen Corps, and Infragard are funded by the DHS, which is Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, which is my favorite bureau of instigation, and local cities. like where I live. The city of, I can't say it because I'll tell you where I live, but here, it's alive and kicking. So the hashtag here is defund fusion centers. Hashtag defund fusion centers. So how do I find my local fusion center? Well, you go to the dhs.gov fusion center locations and contact information. You can pull it up. dhs.gov, https www.dhs.gov/fusion hyphen center hyphen locations hyphen and hyphen contact hyphen information. And if possible, try to get the name of the current director. It should be in the newspaper articles on their website or on LinkedIn. And send the letter via regular mail and email if possible. So this is a sample copy of the letter. Fusion Center, which is in your town. Like here is the Fusion Center, Kentucky Fusion Center, Kentucky Department of Homeland Security Fusion Center. Attention director, you get the address. In the subject heading, it's cease and desist. Dear director, I'm writing to demand an immediate cessation of your illegal activities, which include illegal and warrantless surveillance, harassment, cyberstalking, stalking, breaking and entering to my property and vehicle. And I'm just going to add, because it's not there, vandalism, theft of personal property, theft and torture to farm animals and pets. Okay, so I'm just going to add that on here. The asset stripping, the slander and defamation, okay, because the fusion centers are responsible for concocting the narrative, the defamation that is spread throughout the community. So I'm going to add to my letter that it includes spreading slander and defamation throughout the community. So now it goes on to say, I am a member of Targeted Justice, Inc. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Let me back up. You and your employees and volunteers shall immediately cease and desist from these vigilante-organized actions. I am a member of Targeted Justice, Inc., which is a nonprofit group involved in lawsuits against the FBI and DHS for their illegal activities against non-investigative subjects, quote-unquote, NIS, which is you and me and 4 million other people in the U.S. Under your leadership, you are directing employees and volunteers ignorant of the basic civic precepts such as presumption of innocence, the illegality of stalking, harassment, defamation, among others. Oh, how about break-ins? Oh, yeah, theft. These are felony crimes. Your illegal actions involve crimes punishable under 42 U.S. Code Section 1983, Civil Action for Deprivation of Rights, and the Racketeer Influence and Corruption Organization. This is RICO Act, 18 U.S.C. Sections 1961 to 1968. Qualified immunity does not protect you, your employees, or your volunteers from liability. Liability and damages accrue daily. It is in your best interest to mitigate damages and halt all the vigilante activities. A response is expected from your office within 2 weeks. And it says, I will this doesn't make sense. This is a little typographical error. I will take your understanding and your failure to respond as an admission of guilt. Sincerely, and then whoever it is. So that is a sample of a cease and desist letter to the local fusion centers. Of course, you want to tailor it to your personal needs. Like my personal need is trespassing. Trespassing doesn't say that. Breaking and entering, yeah. But what are they doing after they break and enter the property or vehicle? What are they doing? They're stealing, vandalizing, moving things around, damaging stuff, and harming animals in the process. In addition to the fact that they are spreading germ warfare, dust, bugs, ants, spiders. They are infecting a home. Plus all their negative energy is spread in your personal space. So again, you can tailor the cease and desist letter to your personal liking. For those of you who are not subscribed to the Targeted Justice newsletter, I just am. I will cut and paste a copy of this. It's not a long letter. So then you can cut and paste and tailor it to your personal needs in your state, for your state fusion center, your Homeland Security. Homeland Security is merged with fusion centers in some states, just the way it is here in rural Kentucky. Homeland Security and Fusion Center here are pretty much, I'm not going to say they're one and the same, but they're at the same location. Okay, they're the same location. Hashtag defund fusion centers. You can use that hashtag defund fusion center. I guarantee that there are millions of U.S. citizens that have no idea what a fusion center is. They don't know how it operates. They don't know what it's collecting. They don't know how they're getting paid. They don't know how much money it costs to run a fusion center and pay all of their operatives to harass people. And they collect information for their counterintelligence. So they go into your home and collect information on how to devise the best torture program by mimicking, copying you in the privacy of your own home and property and at your place of employment. They use your personal information as a form of harassment and torture. So I look forward to your questions and comments. Do you think that fusion centers should be shut down? Are you willing to write a letter to Congress asking them to do so? Are you willing to write a cease and desist letter to your local fusion center? Or, if you don't want to write a cease and desist letter, how about sending them a letter asking them if your name's on a list? And see what their response is. Oh, of course they're going to say, oh, we can't confirm or deny in the name of national security. Yes, you know how that goes. I have quite a few. I received a few of those letters. I received a couple in New Jersey. I received one from the FBI. Well, we can't confirm or deny in the name of national security if you're on the list or you're not on the list. The fact that you can't tell me already gives me the knowledge that I am. Because if I were not on the list, you would have no problems telling me. Sorry, no, you're not on the list. You're not on any list. And in the name of national security, knowing that I'm not on the list, wouldn't that be a good thing? I could rest my case on that one. So the stupid, plausible explanation that they can't confirm or deny in the name of national security. What's the problem with denying that somebody's name is on a list? The reason is because you can't deny it. Because it is. And the national security is covering your butts. Covering all of your butts for all the crimes that you guys are committing. Because you are psychologically abusive, pathological liars, malignant narcissists, and everything that you do and collect on us is a projection. It is a projection. You want to concoct all the good people when you guys, you Fusion Center operatives, you Infragard losers. Oh, we can't forget the 3 Masons. And just because they're a 3 Mason doesn't mean that they're not part of Infragard. Just because they are an Infragard operative doesn't mean that they're not also a 3 Mason. And I'm going to call them a three-mason because they do everything in threes. 3, 3, 3. So they are the three-mason. Free? They're not free. They have sold their souls to the devil. They are Satanists. That's their agenda. Their agenda is not about joy and goodness and peace and love and the age of Aquarius, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, you know, harmony and understanding and all that stuff. No, they don't want that. They only thrive on your pain and misery. Now, what kind of a person thrives on pain and misery, guys? Is that normal? Is that normal behavior? Oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe just maybe they appear to be paranoid. Or maybe, perhaps they're just a little schizophrenic. Or perhaps all the psychologists and you every one of you should lose your license. Every one of you that prescribes these medications for false diagnoses should be made public. Everybody needs to know your name. You should be in a public database. In fact, maybe we should collect the names of these people and place them in a public database online. So instead of, these police auditors, there's so many of them on YouTube. Maybe we need Fusion Center, Operative, and Infragard auditors and publish their names online. These are the people that are warring against innocent Americans. So yeah, I will eventually write my cease and desist letter to the Fusion Center, but not before I request information from them, which of course they'll we'll say, well, we can't confirm or deny. But I believe that Homeland Security, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this. I know that the fusion centers are not subject to FOIA requests, but I believe that Homeland Security may be. And if they're not, definitely the department, the DHS and the FBI are required to respond to FOIA requests. But anyway, this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. I'm going to sign off for now. Please leave your comments down below. And tell me, were you aware of fusion centers and what they do? That they collect all of your information and that they are the ones that spread the defamation in the community. They're the ones that co-opt your neighbors. They're the ones that disseminate the gift cards and stuff. The money is funneling from DHS and FBI into fusion centers and Homeland Security. And it's funneling into the cities and states. That's why there is no public accounting. They don't want anyone to know how much money they're raking in and where it goes. And there's got to be a stop to that. We need to hold them accountable. And the IRS needs to know what they do with their money. And I'm going to rest my case on that. Other than that, if your neighbors are getting paid under the table, that needs to be exposed too. They need to be held accountable for all that extra money that they're not paying taxes on. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading signing off for now.